All right, we are live in Williams Stadium. As you can see behind us, Jamey Chadwell was just introduced in the press conference. Just had his introductory press conference. Ian McCall was there and was very excited. Had some comments. So we're gonna bring in John, and we'll talk, get his reactions. He got to talk with both Ian and Jamey after the press conference for a quick Q&A they did for media. Just overall reaction to the press conference was the room was packed. It was the biggest crowd I've seen for an introductory press conference. It was fans, it was media, it was Liberty folks, all the Flames Club, and so on. A lot of excitement. There was a lot of clapping. There were a couple standing ovations. It was just a blast to be a part of. So we'll bring in John and kind of get his reactions and things we've been hearing all week. And I don't know where this is going to go, but we're live in Williams Stadium. John, first, I guess what was I just talked a little bit about the number of people in there. You were here for Coach Freeze's, and you said it was a little bit different. Talk to us about the excitement up there and the number of people and everything like that first.
Yeah, sure. I mean, this is the third press conference I've been here for a new head coach in the Carter Tower at Williams Stadium on the third level. Coach McKay back a few years ago, and then Coach Freeze, and now Coach Chadwell, and this was by far the largest crowd. I mean, there was probably twice as many, if I had to guess, people here as there were the first time when Coach Freeze was introduced 4 years ago. And I think a lot of that is due to Coach Freeze and the success he had here and just the excitement around this program. And then for you to go out and for Liberty to be able to go out and get a head coach like Jamey Chadwell from Coastal, with all the success he's had. I mean, Ian said it today. He thinks he's one of the best coaches in the entire country, and he's got the best record at the G5 level as a head coach over the past 3 years at 31-6, I believe it is. So a lot of excitement around Liberty football today, and who would have thought that a week ago today, when we're all kind of trying to figure out what's going on with Coach Freeze and where's Liberty going forward, and to be here today, it's credit to Ian McCall and his staff, and what they've been able to get done this week, how quickly they moved, how professional they were in their search, and to be sitting here today with Jamey Chadwell up here on the video board at Williams Stadium. It's very exciting. Great day to be a Flame.
So some just particulars, so specifics about the actual press conference that I noticed. When there's a couple things, but one, when they were reading, Ian was going through Jamey's stats, and like he said, the most wins over a 3-year period at the G5 level, and Ian said even better than here at Liberty, and during those stats, like, oh, he won Coach of the Year in whatever year it was, and this is the number of conference Coach of the Year he's won it. People were literally oohing and awing. It was kind of hilarious. They were like, oh, wow, oh yeah, and they were clapping. It was hilarious to kind of be a part of. The excitement, the buzz was there, and just when he was reading his resume, it was kind of hilarious and fun to be a part of. Honestly, John and I were second row. The Jokers showed up and were sitting front row. They got there early, like they do every event. They had their shirts on. They weren't painted up, thank goodness, but they were sitting there front row. We got to talk to them, and they were like, "Hey, we just want to show them our support," and we thought that was awesome. So, but yeah, the oohing and awing was hilarious to me. One quote that stuck out to everybody in the entire room was he basically he was thanking his wife, and he said, "Hey, we have been married for, I think he said, going on 18 years," and he said, "and I have moved her just about as many times in that 18-year period," and he said, "but I promised her this was our last stop." And he talked a lot about how this was a dream job for him and how he had thought about this a long time ago. And when he was here at Charleston Southern, he thought about it. And so then he made the comment. He's like, and then he looked back at Ian. He's like, "and I'll be here as long as you guys will have me, or for a while," I think he said. So John will have the exact, but man, everybody in the room was like, to be honest, we have been gun shy, I guess, or just kind of like, "Hey, what, are you hearing anything? Is he going anywhere? Oh, UCLA just opened up. Virginia Tech just opened up. Vanderbilt just opened up." Like, even from year one at the Cure Bowl, it was like, "Hey, Arkansas opened up. Is he going to be to Arkansas? We're hearing that there's rumors." Like, we've been gun shy for this whole time. So when he said that, the whole room was like, I can't believe he just said that. So I came into this thing, honestly, John, level setting my expectations. Like, if he's here for 4 years, does a great job, goes to a big P5 school, That's what we want. We're a stepping stone. Even our guy CP0 season on the Twitter Spaces last week was saying, "Don't sell this job short. There will be a guy." Man, I hate this because I was telling myself I'm not going to be convinced that Chadwell is a lifer and that we are a stepping stone for right now. But man, he sold me already with those comments, and I'm not going to hold it against him if Georgia comes calling in 2 years and he leaves. Like that's not it. But it got me excited. What did you think about those comments? I mean,
Yeah, I mean, it was exciting to hear him say that. But at the same time, like you said, you can't fault a guy. You can't fault Coach Freeze. And I don't want to keep talking about Coach Freeze, but you can't fault him for going to Auburn. And I don't think we would fault Coach Chadwell if he got a job that he thought was best for him and his family and allowed him the opportunity to go to play for a national championship. So, that's just how these things go. But it was refreshing to hear that. He was, very open about, the mission. I've heard a lot of people questioning, like, okay, he's good on paper, but does he fit the mission of the school? And he was very open with that. The very first words out of his mouth was, God is good. So to hear him talk about that and to be very open about it, and, not that he couldn't do that at Coastal, but he can do it here. And, it gets amens in the crowd. I mean, you almost felt like you were at a church service, which I didn't go this morning because we were in Richmond with family for Christmas. But, it was almost like you're in church service this morning with the amens coming from the congregation. But it was a lot of fun. And to hear him say that is great. But again, you can't fault him if he ever does leave. And you never know what will happen. A lot can happen. But Liberty is a special place. And there are people that come here and then fall in love with the place and never want to leave, right? I mean, you've seen, Coach McKay's been here for 10 years now. He left, went to the ACC, the highest level of college basketball, and came back. And he's turned down Power 5 jobs and more money to stay at Liberty. Ian McCall, I'm sure he's had offers to go elsewhere or at least interest, and he has to this point turned that down. And you can go across the board, across this campus with coaches that have had opportunities to go elsewhere, but they decided to come here. And Jamey Chadwell could be that guy. And, of course, it's his first day. He just got introduced less than an hour ago as the new head coach. So you never know what's going to happen. And he said, you have to win. Y'all can do all your cheering now, but you can also, let's wait and see what we do on the field, because you could boo me out there if we start losing some games. So, and that's kind of what he talked about. He talked about, what's next for him. And we'll have some more coverage of that and his full quotes coming up on SeaRed.com later today. But it was a very exciting day.
Yeah, it was the buzz was cool up there, and it was fun to be a part of. A lot of folks come up and John, let's talk about this week real quick. Basically, it happened to us on Saturday where there was a leak, and Pete Thamel put out that Freeze was expected to be named Auburn's head coach like 2 hours before our kickoff. Freeze didn't really have time to respond to his team. They were reading it on the bus, the tweets, and it just didn't turn out good for us. Same thing happened to Coastal yesterday, it feels like, where they, didn't play their best ball. How tricky was that as a Sea of Red to navigate? Like, we've confirmed this basically, but we can't really put anything out. We don't want to put anything out. It's not like you couldn't. You didn't want to put anything out to have that kind of come from within Liberty. You would rather a national outlet break something like that. How many sleepless nights did you have? And talk about just that respect level you have for Coastal's program.
I can't talk about that. You said that wrong. I know it came out right when you said that. You're like, I can't talk about the respect we have for Coastal, because we don't. But this respect we have more for Ian, for Liberty, for the way they want to do things. And Ian kind of said, that's Auburn being Auburn, when that leak kind of came out in his press conference back on, what was that, Tuesday morning, I believe it was. And, yeah, Liberty did not want this to get leaked out. Sure, they were talking to Jamey Chadwell all week. And I'll be honest, standing right up here, 8 days ago, just before the New Mexico State game started, I talked to Ian McCall, and first thing he said, first name, the only name that came out of his mouth, Jamey Chadwell. He was kind of asking me, like, do you think that would be a fit, or what would be the reaction to that? And of course, I'm like, oh yeah, of course, And so to hear him say that, I immediately was like, okay, he's got to be at the top of the list. So when we put together that list that we released, within minutes of it being official that Hugh Freeze was going to Auburn, Jamey Chadwell was on the list. And all week long, from the people we were talking to, it sounded like Chadwell was at the top of Liberty's list. Now it becomes will he want to come to Liberty? Will he want to leave Coastal and come here? Can they get all the particulars worked out? You don't know. So, there was days going back and forth. Sometimes, for most of the week, we kind of felt like it was Chadwell's job to lose. But there was times where like, okay, maybe it's Kane Womack. He was a name that we heard a lot about, and he ended up eking that deal with extension with South Alabama. And he was a guy that maybe was Liberty's 1B choice or second choice. But Ian said it today that Jamey was at the top of the list, and we were happy to get our number one guy. He said that today, and that's what happened. And they were able to, at least from Liberty's side, keep it from leaking out. And even the national guys that did leak out the story, they were saying no deal is finalized yet. It won't be a final until after the game. He'll make his final decision then, and that's what Jamey said in his press conferences all week with Coastal. And
so it just went a little bit differently.
It was a little bit different, not quite the same, but it still kind of had those same feelings. And some of those reports came out, what was it, Thursday night, I think it was. So that was more than 2 hours ahead of the game. At least you had time to kind of, process it, talk about
play
it.
Defense, kind of.
Yeah, a little bit.
So he did talk about, he said our goal here is to be in the playoffs within the next couple or few years. I'm writing that one down. I'm going to save that receipt because a couple is only 2 years. A few is 3. So in the next 3 years, we need to be making the playoffs. But awesome hire. I would grade this A+. Like you said, it was target number 1, highest winning percentage in G5, proven he can do it, mission fit. He fits every single box and then some. Liberty needed this. We're a young, immature fan base. I say that for myself too. We have, not all of us have been diehard Liberty fans for very long. I'm talking like,
well, this was also this hire is incredibly important, just to
right.
piggyback off what you were saying, because, and we talked about it all week. We talked about it last week, it's always been Hugh Freeze is having great success at Liberty. Oh, Liberty, Hugh Freeze is having great success. So yes, that's true. But Liberty's had a winning record every year since 2006. So this is 3 head coaches we've gone through so far that have had at least a winning record every year. So yes, we can do it with other coaches. We've done it with other coaches, not at the FBS level. And so this hire is incredibly important. Ian needed to get a guy that was, quote unquote safe, but also, had a lot of upside. And I think he hit it out of the park with this one.
Yeah.
Getting a guy that has won everywhere he's been. I mean, and that's something I put in my article today, and something that Coach Chadwell mentioned today too, is he was at Charleston Southern in the Big South. In his 4 years there, he was 3-1 against Liberty. Can you imagine being at Charleston Southern and going 3-1? I'd have to go back and look in the record books. I don't know exactly what Liberty was like, 19-3 or something like that against Charleston Southern prior to those 4 years. So the facilities and the resources that he had at Charleston Southern, for him to be able to go there, have the success he had, take them to the playoffs twice. They went to the playoffs twice at Charleston Southern in 4 years. Liberty went to the playoffs once ever in the FCS. So he got more done in his 4 years at Charleston Southern than Liberty ever did in the FCS level. So with these facilities, these resources, the support behind him, the success he's already had, I'm excited to see what's next for Liberty.
Yeah, I hope that he got. So here's another thing from the press conference today that I thought was unique and funny, but also like edgy. And that was whenever he talked about coming here as a head coach. He did say we were very successful here. He's talked about his 3-1 at Charleston Southern. And he also mentioned a lot of Cure Bowl. He mentioned the Cure Bowl. When he said that we ruined his undefeated season in the Cure Bowl, the place stood up and not stood up. A lot of people were cheering and clapping, and he had to like pause for a second. And I'm sure you guys saw that on the live stream, but I thought that was hilarious. And I think that he has a good attitude about it. He's going to be a good sport about how much we hate Coastal. That place I'm sure means a lot to him. It gave him his first FBS coaching job, and he has a lot of friends there and all kinds of things. So it's not like he'll ever join us in that complete hatred for beat Coastal, but he did joke about it. I thought that was kind of interesting.
Yeah, that was good. One thing, when they had the pull aside conference, press conference with him, one thing, I asked him a question about his meeting with Liberty's players, but I wasn't specific. I didn't say, Liberty's coach player meeting just a few minutes ago, which he had at 2:00, just ahead of his press conference. But he took it because the previous question was about Coastal Carolina and what it was like, how difficult was it to leave there. So he took it about his meeting with Coastal's players, which he had this morning before he flew up here. And tears came to his eyes. I saw tears in his eyes. He said, it was very difficult. I'm getting emotional just thinking about this because it was hard. It was hard for me to leave everything that I put into there, all the blood, sweat, and tears that I had in that place. But so it was good to see that emotion, to know that, this is a real human being, a real person that had a lot of success there and a lot of friendships and a lot of family there that he's leaving behind to come and join us here at Liberty. So really excited to have him here.
Yeah, that nuance of like talking about Coastal is going to be. Thankfully, we're not in the same conference as them, But for me, it's always beat Coastal, and we'll never see eye to eye on that with Coach Chadwell. But I think he has a really healthy understanding of why we feel that way, and he was a part of it, so he sees it, so he understands that.
But is the rivalry over?
The rivalry is over. It was like signed, sealed, and delivered today. Beat Coastal. I mean, hopefully we see them down the road and we get to beat them. But actually, you know what, John? Like, they're still our number one recruited against school. I mean, when you look at other offers, it was crazy. Here's the last thing we'll get to is the player reaction. So what I'm hearing with players is that they're very excited, that he's genuine, that he has a personality that they are going to mesh with. Just in their like 1 hour team meeting, everybody, the words we heard were, "Oh, he's chill," or "Oh, this is different. This is good. This is what we want," or "He's going to have a personal relationship with me, and I'm craving that." And the players are loving it so far. But the one unique thing is Kendi Charles posted in his Coastal Carolina football jersey when he was getting recruited by Chadwell, and basically said full circle or something like that. But Jonathan Bennett also came down to Coastal and Liberty, and he's had an existing relationship. His high school coach has had an existing relationship. He's from South Carolina, so he's had that Chadwell ties as well. And
there were a couple handful of players there today, maybe a dozen or 2 dozen, something like that. They were at the press conference.
Yeah.
And they were all smiling, laughing, very relaxed and chill. Just the vibes you get from them just walking around up there by the press conference. And so it's good to see that. I mean, they've obviously had a very emotional week. And, it's good to see them being able to smile and laugh and relax. And I know they're excited to get down to Boca here in a couple weeks.
Yep. So, a lot of things going on the mountain. The excitement that we've had over the last 4 years is a launching pad for further excitement. And we'll leave you with this. We've been watching this entire press conference. Chadwell's oldest son is out here, and he's playing football down the other end. And
he's in 7th grade, and this kid could start at quarterback for LCA tomorrow. I mean,
Yeah.
This dude has got a cannon. He's a lefty. I've seen him several times throw it on a dime about 40 to 50 yards downfield.
I don't know how much we're allowed to say because of privacy laws, but he is a phenomenal player. And yes, a great family. His wife was really excited to be here, you could tell, and should be a lot of fun.
They have a really good story. I sent it to you, Chad, the other day, but I think it was in The Athletic, where they did a story on Jamey Chadwell. So just Google The Athletic, Jamey Chadwell and his wife. They have a great story about him and his wife. And she actually she grew up Islamic. She was Muslim and converted in high school, and they kind of met in high school, and so that was kind of cool. It's a really good story. If you want to read that, you can go Google that, and I read that the other day. It was kind of cool to see kind of their personal story, their personal life, and kind of their background a little bit more than what you see, like in a press conference today.
Yeah, the excitement on the mountain has not gone away. We're going to build on it. We're continuing to rise. The goal is the playoffs in the next several years. The expanded college football playoffs is something Ian's been thinking about for a long time, and very forward thinking in that way. So we're building towards that. This place is going to be rocking next year, Conference USA. I'm really excited to be here, and thank you guys for joining. We'll give you one spin of your favorite football stadium before we take off. That's the press conference up there where it was. There was some there they are playing football down there, and the visiting side, student section, and then finally back to the FOC. I guess what's it now called? The Liberty LFC Liberty Football Center. So from a sea of red, it's been a long week. It's been a very long week with just everything that's going on, but also a very exciting week. Thank you guys for hanging in there with us. I will say this last comment. I know that I do that every time, but to wrap things up, how we handled ourselves this week as a fan base, and it is we can be built different here. We are built different here. We've handled a situation that was all really tricky. We didn't really put anybody out anybody or put anybody under the gun, so to speak. So thank you guys for that. And as always, go Flames, and we'll talk to you guys, I'm sure, soon.